Hello and welcome to ThePrint. Today I'm reporting from a region in Jammu and Kashmir that has historically been one of the most targeted areas. Since independence, this region has been the most impacted by every war, conflict and acts of aggression. Its importance, however, has only increased with subsequent wars, particularly those of 1965 and 71. I am in Akhnoor, about 30 kilometers from Jammu and 50 kilometers from Pakistan's Sialkot by road. The aerial distance is even shorter, making this area particularly vulnerable to potential aggressive actions from across the border. Historically, the Pakistani perspective has consistently viewed the capture of Akhnoor as a strategic objective, believing it could compel India to engage in negotiations. This strategic thinking was evident during Operation Grand Slam, where enemy forces specifically targeted the Akhnoor bridge, right behind me, perceiving it as a crucial supply line to Jammu. Akhnoor is also on the banks of the Chenab River, which flows through this part and then into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Just to clarify that it sometimes is mistakenly thought that India's supply route passes through Akhnoor. However, there are other routes to get to Rajouri and Poonch through Udhampur and Ramban. General Ayub Khan, strategic affairs and analysts say, believe that capturing Akhnoor would cut off Kashmir from Jammu and other parts of India.
Akhnoor, the area surrounding the Akhnoor, 1947, when we talk about the Red Cliff, there are very prominent sayings that Red Cliff never visited India previously, and he drew the lines. And those lines were drawn on the table without seeing the ground realities. One of that feature is that area, particularly which we call as Akhnoor Chicken Neck, and that area is of 170 square kilometers and around 66 square miles. That area that is like intruding into India's territory. From that area, Akhnoor is very close. Pakistan thinks that through that area it can capture Akhnoor, it can come up to Jammu. But our armed forces, again I will say, I will feel proud that our armed forces, when there was no concept of airstrikes and so much, at that time on the foot, in 1965 it was Operation Grand Slam. And in 1971, they also tried to come from that area, but we failed that attempt, we foiled that attempts, and we have achieved success. But obviously, it is a dangerous.
Okay. So, sir, this part where you say this dagger, what Akhnoor is...
This is called by Pakistani.
Correct, the Pakistani side.
They say that it is a dagger. They consider that it is a knife in India's territory. But we call it as chicken neck because if we see in the other way, we are surrounding that territory from three sides. We can cut off that territory at any time. So that is advantageous for us. But that is advantageous for us also in the way that in 1965 and 1971, we have failed those attempts.
In the second war between India and Pakistan in 1965, the first shelling or attack was on Akhnoor, and a large army unit of battle tanks and infantry started moving towards Cham and quickly established its dominance, threatening to capture Akhnoor. But their advances were cut short as the Indian offensive on Lahore, as well as Sialkot, just about 30 kilometers from here, felt the full wrath of India's firepower. India then occupied Haji Pir, a key route that connects Uri with Poonch. In the Shimla agreement that followed after the 1965 war, the Sham town and surrounding areas were given back to Pakistan.
That in 1965 war, our armed forces gained a success. In 1971 war, it was a grand success. But on the table, we lost those territories. Like in 1971, we gave Sham area, which is comprising of 36 villages. And in 1971, we gave Haji Pir, which is very crucial for India, particularly it connects Poonch with Uri. So we lost those areas. We could have negotiated because when we claimed that 1971 was a grand victory, so on the table we should have negotiated because Pakistan was on losing ground. Pakistan would have definitely conceded to those demands. But there were some faults on the part of negotiators. Had those areas been with us, we would have been strategically at the advantageous position over Pakistan.
You were also referring to a particular point between Uri and Poonch, which was given away.
Hajipir.
Yes.
Hajipir is very strategic, of very strategic importance, because if Hajipir is with us from Poonch to Uri, it is just 40 minutes a drive. Otherwise, we have to take the Mughal road route, or we have to take the Jammu Srinagar highway route. It is very long. So Uri is also on LOC and Poonch is on LOC. The reinforcement at the time of war could have been very crucial. So that was a very major blunder on the part of negotiators at that time.
But in the truce and agreements that followed, India decided to return Hajipir Pass and some surrounding back to Pakistan. In 1971, the Pakistani side, now having realized the importance of the dagger, which is what Akhnoor is known, tried to use the same strategy to move in on Akhnoor. Imagine or try to draw a detailed map of Jammu and Kashmir. There are certain lines that are crucial for an accurate depiction. One of those small details on paper is actually a 170 square kilometers parcel of land which Pakistan calls the Akhnoor dagger, as this parcel of land juts into India. In fact, I am standing 100 meters away from what the Pakistanis call the Akhnoor dagger and what India calls the chicken's neck. If you look closely behind me, about 100 meters away is the international border, and this is Pargwal, which is part which runs along what India calls the chicken's neck and what Pakistan calls the Akhnoor dagger. This, of course, is not to be confused with the chicken's neck or Siliguri corridor that connects West Bengal to the 7 northeastern states. The territory was called the Dagger by the Pakistanis. Lieutenant General Zorawar Chand Bakshi, who was the GOC of the 26th Infantry Division in Jammu during the 1971 war, changed it to Chicken's Neck, and that he said that this should be wrung and broken off. He wanted the terminology to go from being on the defensive to being on the offensive. During the 1971 operations against Pakistan, Lieutenant General Bakshi led the capturing of the Chicken's Neck. This land that juts between the Chenab River and one of the channels. Just a few kilometers away is Akhnoor Bridge, vital for the movement of troops into Rajouri, Poonch and other places.
अगर मैं इतिहास की बात करूं तो ऐतिहासिक तौर पर देखा जाए तो ये जो क्षेत्र है, कहा जाता है कि जब 17 जून 1822 को महाराज गुलाब सिंह को महाराज रणजीत सिंह द्वारा, जो पंजाब के महाराज द्वारा राज तिलक देकर जम्मू कश्मीर का पहला डोगरा राजा बनाया था, वो भी इसी स्थल जहाँ पे आप खड़े हैं, यहीं पे उनको राज तिलक दिया गया था, जिया पोता वृक्ष के नीचे। उसके बाद आप बात करेंगे कि इस पुल, ये दो पुल आप देख रहे हैं, इस पुल से जब 1933-34 में डॉक्टर कर्ण सिंह, जो युवराज कर्ण सिंह कहा जाता था उनको, डॉक्टर कर्ण सिंह का वर्थ हुआ था, तो महाराज अपना हरि सिंह जी ने, जो उस वक्त जम्मू कश्मीर के राजा महाराजा थे, उन्होंने अपने बच्चे कर्ण सिंह के नाम पर ब्रिज बनाना शुरू किया, जो 1933-34 में बनकर तैयार हुआ। उस वक्त की कंपनी, जो जर्मनी की एक कंपनी थी जिसको डमडम कंपनी कहा जाता है, जो मेरी जानकारी के अनुसार है, जर्मनी की कंपनी द्वारा ये बनाया गया था। और इसको दोनों साइड से, एक दामनी दोनों साइड से ऐसे बीच में जोड़ा गया था, तो इस ब्रिज का नाम कर्ण ब्रिज रखा गया था। तो इसके लिए इम्पॉर्टेंट ये है कि इसके साथ ही 2.5 डिस्ट्रिक्ट लगते हैं, हम डिस्ट्रिक्ट पुंछ, डिस्ट्रिक्ट राजौरी और डिस्ट्रिक्ट आधा जम्मू इसके साथ लगते हैं। इसलिए जरूर अब तो हमारे साथ डिस्ट्रिक्ट रियासी, जिला रियासी भी हमारे साथ जुड़ चुका है, बाकी डिस्ट्रिक्ट भी आज आ गया। लेकिन उस वक्त की बात करेंगे तो एकमात्र पुल हुआ करता था ये वाला, जो 1933-34 में बना। तकरीबन अगर हम करें 90 साल पहले या 91 साल पहले की बात करें तो इसको बनाया गया था। इसलिए ये हर बार पाकिस्तान की और दुश्मन की नज़र रही है कि इसको उड़ाकर, इस पुल को तोड़कर और मैं जो पूरा पुंछ का इलाका है और जोरी का इलाका है या शाम क्षेत्र का इलाका है, जहाँ पे अपना वर्चस्व, जहाँ पे अपना वो मौजूदा वो तैयार करूँ।
लेकिन क्या ये सच है कि बस ये अखनूर लेने से ये पूरा कट हो जाएगा इसके
नहीं
साथ?
नहीं, अब तो ऐसी बात नहीं है। अगर अब हम 65 की बात करें तब की बात अलग होगी, तब उनकी सोच अलग है। अब ऐसी बात नहीं है। अब तो हमारे साथ श्रीनगर का इलाका मुगल रोड खुल चुका है।
अच्छा।
हमारे पास बड़े सारे ऐसे ब्रिज बन चुके हैं, हम उसको कैमरा में नहीं बताएंगे। हमारे पास इतनी टेक्नोलॉजी है कि अब उसकी सोच वो खत्म हो चुकी है। वो वाले उसके लीडर भी मर चुके हैं, उनके जनरल भी मर चुके हैं और उनके प्रधानमंत्री भी वो वाले मर चुके हैं जिनकी ये सोच थी। अब वो वाली बात नहीं है।
The short aerial distance, strategic location, and historical perspective continues to keep the Pakistanis indulged in Akhnoor. Villages like Rakharoon, Gharkhal, and places like this, like the Nai Vasti and other places, were the first to feel the shelling and aggression of Pakistan since tensions began after Operation Sindoor on May 7th. India's anti-drone systems have thwarted almost all attempts by Pakistan to target civilian areas, military installations, and even places of religious worship. India was able to thwart several of these attacks, but also suffered loss of lives, property in several parts along the international border and the line of control. On May 10th, Pakistan and India agreed for a ceasefire that would be in effect from 5 p.m. that day. A few hours later, there were ceasefire violations and Pakistan continued to target several Indian cities and villages along the border, including Jammu, Srinagar, Akhnoor, and other places. When Pakistan decided to continue ceasefire violations, Akhnoor felt the impact first as villages like Kota Mera, Pahadiwali, and this one, Paragwal, were amongst those that were hit and people suffered injuries and damage to property. Akhnoor has a rich heritage and occupies a very special place in Indian mythology. The Pandavas are said to have spent some time in these parts during the last year of their exile. Akhnoor is believed to be the mythical city of Virat Nagari mentioned in the Mahabharata. During the Mughal era, the town came to be known as Akhnoor, a name reportedly derived from the words Ankh and Noor, signifying eyes and vision. Historically and continuing into the present day, Akhnoor remains an area of focus for Pakistan. Thank you for watching.